Good morning. Welcome back to yet another section of Indian writing in English literature. In our last class, we went through Shashi Deshpande in detail. We already understood about Shashi Deshpande's life, works, and also her writing style in detail. Today, we are going to start one of her famous novels, Roots and Shadows. Before starting the novel, I want to introduce the characters in the novel Roots and Shadows. We can divide the characters into generations. First generation, second generation, third generation and fourth generation. First generation. We can see there are three characters in first generation. Akka, the female matriarch of the family. Indu's grandfather, old uncle, Indu's grandfather's cousin. They are the three characters in first generation. Then we are moving to the second generation. Narmada, Adya, Indu's aunt. Anand calls him as Kaka, Indu's uncle. Govind, Indu's father. Madhav Kaka and Sumitra Kaki, Indu's uncle and aunt. Vinay Kaka and Kamala Kaki, Indu's uncle and aunt. Sunanda Adya and Vasant Kaka, Indu's uncle and aunt. Saroja, Naren's mother. So we can see that in second generation, Narmada, Anand Kaka, Govind, her father, Madhav Kaka and Sumitra Kaki, Vinay Kaka and Kamala Kaki, Vasant Kaka and Sunanda, all are her uncles and aunts. Saraja, Naren's mother. About Naren we will speak later. Then we are moving to the third generation. Third generation, Indu, Govind's daughter and the main protagonist in the novel. Naren, I think all of you remembered well, Naren, Saraja's son and Indu's illicit partner. Jayant, Indu's husband. Anand Kaka's children, we can see that he has 4 children. Hemant, Sumant, Padmini calls as Mini, Sharad. Madhava Kaka and Sumitra Kaki's children, they have 3 children. Sunil, Leda and Geeta. We can also see one more character in third generation, Vidal. He is the adopted Brahmin boy. So I think all of you got the picture about third generation. Indu, Naren, Jayant, Anand Kaka's children, Hemant, Sumant, Padmini or Mini, Sharad. Madhav Kaka and Sumitra Kaki's children, Sunil, Leda and Geeta. We also met the adopted Brahmin boy, Vida. Then we are going to the fourth generation. Fourth generation, we can see Hemant's children. Hemant has 2 children, Vishwas and Sanju. About the themes of the novel, Roots and Shadows. The novel is based on the themes of tradition, family life, marriage, patriarchy, domestic abuse, self-delusion and adultery. The author has tried to display the complex web of interpersonal conflicts and interpersonal contradictions affect all our lives. Let us go through the brief summary of the novel Roots and Shadows. The story revolves around the female protagonist Indu and uses the first person narrative. The story foregrounds the dynamics in an Indian Brahmin joint family and all its conflicts, compromises, and peculiarities. Indu's mother dies at childbirth, and her father Govind, a photographer, leaves her in the care of his old aunt Akka and his brother Kaka, who live in their ancestral home. So, after the death of Indu's mother, her father Govind, a photographer, gave the responsibility of Indu to his old aunt Akka and his brother Anand. Indu calls Anand as Kaka. They live in their ancestral home. Akka is the matriarch and rules the house with a whip. Apart from Anand and Govind, there is Adya, her real name is Narmada, widowed sister. Then the other sister Sunanda and two more brothers Madhav and Vinayak with their wives and kids. They lived in this ancestral home. They were controlled by Akka. Indu grows up as a rebellious and pugnacious kid who wants to do things according to her fancy and understanding. She finally succeeds in her endeavor when she leaves the house at the age of 18 and later marries a man of her own choice, Jayanta. She works as a writer in a magazine but wishes to take up a different form of writing which would satiate the novelist inside of her. She is a doting wife and almost as dutiful and self-effacing as the domesticated housewives she always resented. She hides her dependence on Jayanta, and the hypocrisy of her emotions and actions builds a stream of angst and guilt inside of her. We already understood Indu grows up as a rebellious nature by the control of Akka. That's why she left the home at the age of 18. Later, she married a man of her choice. His name is Jayanta. She started to work as a writer in magazine, but actually she was not at all happy because she wanted to become a writer. After the marriage, she acts as a dutiful wife. Actually, she was not at all happy. She hides her dependence on Jayanta, and it leads to face a lot of problems. At the age of 29, she returns to her family house as Akka is on her deathbed. The fact the two had not spoken for 10 years and never really saw eye to eye. Indu is surprised when she learns that Akka wants to bequeath all her property and wealth to her. Then I told you, after the marriage, Indu didn't feel happy. So that's why at the age of 29, she wanted to go back to Akka. At the moment, Akka was on her deathbed. They started to speak after 10 years. Indu became surprised when she knew that Akka wants to bequeath all her property and wealth to Indu. She hides the information from the rest of the family up until her final rites when the probate lawyer Shayamaro reads Akka's will to the entire family. They all are shocked to see that Indu, a familial pariah, was given everything. When Indu understood that Akka left the whole wealth for her, she kept it as a secret. But after the death of Akka, the lawyer revealed the truth to the entire family. So the entire family members became shocked. Indu's cousin Padmini or Mini is supposed to get married and Akka promised to pay for it. So Indu feels obligated to honor the said promise. As for the house, apart from Kaka and Adya, everyone wants it to be sold and receive their own share of the spoils. All this while, Indu is distressed about her relationship with Jayanta, as he restricts her attachment with her to some placid and dispassionate letters. In her desperation, she even commits adultery with one of her cousins and close friend Naren, who is the only grandson of the old uncle. Anyway, when she identified Akka left the entire wealth for her, she decided to take the responsibility of Mini's marriage. I think all of you remembered Mini. She is the daughter of Kaka, Anand Kaka. Akka already gave the promise to take the responsibility of Mini's marriage. That's why after the death of Akka, Indu took the responsibility to arrange the marriage of Mini. Except Kaka and Adya, all other members, they wanted to get their share from their ancestral home. But Indu sold the house and she wanted to arrange Mini's marriage. All this while, Indu is distressed about her relationship with Jayanta, her husband. In her desperation, she commits adultery with one of her cousins and close friend Naren. That period actually, she started an illicit relationship with her friend, close friend and her cousin Naren. Naren is a self-indulgent and carefree vagabond who was never accepted by the family. He was orphaned in childhood and only has his grandfather to call his own. In the end, Naren succumbs to his private devils and commits suicide. But we can see that at the end of the novel, Naren committed suicide. The family is distraught over the tragedy, especially the old uncle and Indu. She even learns about the tragic life story of Akka as a 12-year-old bride, abusive marriage, her husband's concubine, and widowed. At the end of the novel, we can see that Indu understood the life of Akka. When Akka was 12-year-old, she became bride. She was the victim of an abusive marriage, her husband's concubine, and widowed. Then she understood Akka's life was very tragedy. She realizes her lack of knowledge and will to understand Akka and her rules bred their asperity toward each other. Shaken by Naren's death but unaffected by her own foibles, Indu decides to discharge the responsibility Akka had loaded on her shoulders. She decided to fund Mini's marriage and to sell the house. She also decides to return to Jayanta, her husband, and confess her infidelity. She hopes that their relationship can withstand the trial of such scorching honesty, and even if it doesn't, she would find peace in the confession of her sin. Then we can see that Indu understood the life of Akka. At the moment onwards, she started to love Akka unconditionally. But it was too late. Then we also identified Naren committed suicide. So all these things shaken by Indu, and she decided to arrange the fund for Mini's marriage. She sold the ancestral property and she gave the share for each and every members, and she also arranged Mini's marriage. Then she also decided to return to Jayanta, her husband, and she wanted to confess her infidelity. That is the end of the novel. So I think at least you got a picture about the novel Roots and Shadows. I want to summarize the novel once again. Okay. Roots and Shadows is written in the first person point of view. It is narrated by Indu. She belongs to a joint family which is controlled by Akka, who is Indu's grandfather's younger sister. I think all of you remembered well how Akka got the opportunity to take care of Indu. Indu leaves her ancestral home. She gets married to Jayant, who belongs to a different religion and speaks a different language. Akka controls the entire family members. She is very strict woman. That's why Indu felt unhappy and she wants to leave the house. That's why at the age of 18 she left home and she married of her own choice. Her husband's name is Jayanta. About Jayanta, I told you he belongs to a different religion and speaks a different language. At that time, Indu works as a writer in magazine, but she was not at all happy as a writer in a magazine. She wanted to become a writer. More than that, she tried to act as a dutiful wife. At that moment onwards, she faced the problems. Then she decided to return home and finds Akka on deathbed. Akka has not approved of their marriage. Akka is a widow without children, and all her pleasure is to rule over her brother's children. The occupants of the house are Indu's uncle Kaka and his wife Kaki, along with their 4 children. I think all of you remembered well the children Hemant, Sumant, Mini or Padmini and Sharad. Besides, there are Adya, Indu's widowed aunt, and Akka's cousin, old uncle, and his grandson Naren. Indu was brought there by Kaka when her mother died 15 days after she was born. She lived 18 years there, and all those years she was a rebel questioning the traditional rules of conduct imposed on women. Disregarding Akka's rules was one of her pleasures. I tell you, Akka was very strict. He controlled the entire family members. But Indu doesn't like Akka. She wants to break the rules of Akka. That was her pleasure. That's why she left her home at the age of 18. This quality she inherited from her father Govind. Her father Govind has also the same behavior, same character. He was a photojournalist by profession and did not get much time to visit the family or take care of Indu. We are speaking about Indu's father Govind. He is a professional photographer, photojournalist. That's why he was very busy. So after the death of his wife, he gave the responsibility of Indu to Akka. But Kaka and Kaki and Adya were very affectionate with her. The reason for her leaving the house was an unpleasant comment made by Akka on her mother. That is the particular reason. Once Akka made a bad comment about Indu's mother. That's why she decided to leave the house at the 18 years old. She took up the job of a journalist. It was at this time that he married Jayant. She loved him very much, but gradually things began to change. She understood that her husband was trying to suppress her inclinations. She couldn't adjust with her husband Jayant. Then Akka asked her to return to her ancestral home when she was on her deathbed. When Indu returned to her ancestral home after 10 years, Akka announces that she has chosen Indu as her heir. The marriage of Mini, Kaka's daughter, has been fixed with an uneducated and uncultured fellow. Akka has undertaken the responsibility of the marriage. It is a great relief to Kaka and his wife. So after the death of Akka, Indu took the responsibility of Mini's marriage. She sold their ancestral home and she gave the equal share for all other members, and she took the responsibility of Mini's marriage. In between that, we can see that Indu started an illicit relationship with Naren. Then at the end of the novel, Naren committed suicide. Then Indu decided to go back to her husband. She wanted to confess all her illicit relationship with him. She had the hope that he would accept her. That is the end of the novel, Roots and Shadows. We are going to talk about Roots and Shadows in detail. Roots and Shadows is an exploration of Indu's urge for the realization of her inner self, the assertion of her individuality and liberty with reference to her relationship with Jayant, her husband, and the members of her ancestral family. Being a girl child, she was taught to be meek, obedient, docile, submissive, and unquestioning in her childhood. Suppressed in Indian patriarchy, Indu, the protagonist of the novel, rebels against Akka, the head of a matriarchal family, who represents age-old and orthodox beliefs and conventions, and marries Jayant, a man of different caste but of her own choice. With the hope to escape from her caged existence in her conventional and orthodox ancestral family with its rigid values and beliefs. I already told you she couldn't accept Akka and her rules. That's why she decided to leave her home at the age of 18. Beyond that, Akka started to use bad words about her mother. That was one of the reasons. And to get the freedom, she left her home and she married of her own choice. Her husband is Jayant. Jayant, a man of different caste, but definitely of her own choice. She has the hope to escape from her caged existence in her conventional and orthodox ancestral family with its rigid values and beliefs. In her quest of freedom and happiness, she leaves her parental home with a very simple dream that her marriage would help her to realize her need to belong, to be wanted, to be needed, and to be loved. She wanted to enjoy her freedom as a woman. She married the man from a different caste. She seeks marriage as an alternative to the restrictions imposed on her in the name of gender discrimination in her ancestral family. After her marriage, she surrenders and submits herself wholeheartedly to her husband in the name of love. In marrying Jayant, she enters into an independent and free world of her dreams. She feels, I had thought I had found my alter ego in Jayant. I had felt that in marrying him, I had become complete. I had felt incomplete, not as a woman, but as a person. And in Jayant, I had thought I had found the other part of my whole self. Not only that, but total understanding, perfect communication. And then I had realized this was an illusion. I had felt cheated. But very soon, in the absence of a perfect understanding between them, she realizes that her husband, a typical Indian husband, wants her to live according to his views and ideas, dreams, and aspirations. She feels deceived and disillusioned in her marital life. She begins to taste the bitter fruits of marriage, a trap. She strongly believes behind the facade of romanticism, sentiment, and tradition, what was marriage? After all, but two people brought together after cold-blooded bargaining, mate and reproduce so that the generations might continue. I told you she married Jayant as of her own choice. She was very happy in the beginning. She felt she could get the freedom. She could enjoy herself, not only a woman but also a person. But you know, After years, she felt unhappy. She identified that it didn't match with her, and she begins to taste the bitter fruits of marriage. It's a trap. She is physically and emotionally dissatisfied with her husband, who has only a practical approach to her. Her feminine dreams are suppressed as her husband takes her for granted and expects her to submit in one way or the other. Her marital life seems to have nothing to do with love, a noble feeling. She fails even to understand the meaning of love. She thinks to herself, and anyway, love, that's a word I don't really understand. What I feel for Jayanta, can I compress all of it within this word? If you want, you can refer the page number 88 and 89. Her marriage with Jayant fails to give her freedom and happiness. The chains of her marriage are really heavy, and she is expected to adjust and modify herself to the situation from which it is difficult for her to escape. She is not satisfied because she gets neither love nor support or happiness from her husband. Her answer to Adya's question, are you happy with him, Indu? Happy? Who can say that? But I know I can't be without him. Even Adya asked her about their relationship, about their marital life. Are you happy with him? She was not at all ready to tell that she hates him or she wanted to divorce him. She never tells her because she knew the reality. She can't live without him. She herself doesn't know whether she is happy or not. She became confused because he was her own choice. Adya is reminded of Akka's words. Such marriages never work. Different castes, different languages. It's all right for a while. Then they realize. These words, Adya is quoted from Akka. That was Akka's belief. Such marriages, different castes, different languages, it will not work out properly. That was the belief of Akka. So here we can see that Adya also quoted the words of Akka. If you want, you can refer the page number 68. Akka, who wanted everyone in the family to be happy, was against intercaste marriages. Even Akka was very strict woman. She controls each and every members in their family. But she wanted to make everyone, every members in the family to be happy. At the same time, she was against intercaste marriages. Actually, we talked about the relationship between Jayant and Indu. Though she is not happy with Jayant, she always tries to please her husband. She considers herself incomplete without her husband. Away from her husband, at her ancestral home, she thinks, this is my real sorrow, that I can never be complete in myself. Until I had met Jayant, I had not known it, that there was somewhere outside me, a part of me without which I remained incomplete. Then I met Jayant and lost the ability to be alone. All these words you will find when you look at the page number 31. In her attempt to please her husband, she loses her identity. She totally surrenders herself to her husband in each and every respect. She tried her maximum to become a dutiful wife. What was the result? She loses her identity. She totally surrenders herself to her husband in each and every respect. She remembers when I had met Jayant and I had found out that he too expected me to submit. No, not expected. He took it for granted that I would. And I did it because I told myself I loved him. As if that justified everything. And remembering how I had surrendered to him step by step, I realize now that it was not for love, as I had been telling myself, but because I did not want conflict, that I had clung tenaciously to Jayant, to my marriage, not for love alone, but because I was afraid of failure. And so I went on lying, even to myself, compromising, shedding bits of myself along the way, which meant that I, who had despised Devadas for being a coward, was the same thing myself. I had killed myself as surely as he had done. She compares herself with Devadas, and in despairing Devadas, she despises herself. So we can see that at first she thought she is adjusted with him because she loves him very deeply. But later that she understood it's not because of real love. Actually, without making problem with him, she wants to adjust. Indu and her life moves around her husband. She has killed her feelings, emotions, dreams and aspirations. And even her ambition of being a creative writer. That was her greatest ambition, to become a creative writer. So she understood, she killed herself, her feelings, emotions, dreams, aspirations, all her ambitions. She changes, shapes and molds herself according to her husband's desires and needs. She faces her husband and her marital life silently. She learns that silence and submissiveness are the gifts of marriage. Jayant, a practical, authoritative and dominating male, not only suppresses the female voice of expression in his wife, but makes her life dull and mechanical. The woman in Indu can neither express herself nor choose for herself on her own. She can neither love nor hate, but pretended to be happy. Her marriage strengthens her capacity for pretendence and deceptions. She knows that she can shatter her husband with withdrawals and rejections. But she hides her reactions and pretends to detachment. She never gets what she wants. She puts on a mask of a meek and submissive wife. She knows, but my marriage had taught me this too. I had found in myself an immense capacity for deception. I had learned to reveal to Jayant nothing but what he wanted to see to say to him nothing but what he wanted to hear, I hid my responses and emotions as if they were bits of garbage. For reference, you can look at the page number 38. So we can see that Indu identified herself. She already lost her identity. She studied to pretend to be happy. She already understood how to pretend and how to deceive one. She understands that her husband and she herself are on different planes. Her husband chooses his level while she tries to choose the one he would like her to be on. She is so frank and bold that she tells everything about her relationship with her husband to Naren. She says, and so I pretend. I am passive and unresponsive. I am still and dead. So that's all I am, Naren. Not a pure woman, not a faithful woman, but an anachronism. A woman who loves her husband too much, too passionately, and is ashamed of it. Refer the page number 83. She gets humiliated when she sees herself to turn into an ideal Indian woman following her husband's wishes and fancies, ideas and plans willingly and obediently. She is shocked to find herself a woman with no choice, no wants, no dreams, no aspirations, no identity, and no individuality. Her feminine instinct and consciousness, her dreams and aspirations are suppressed in Indian patriarchal setup. Always ready to please her husband, she submits to his wills and desires and does everything for him. She even forgets to dress herself the way she wants, the way she likes, the way she pleases. She admits, when I look in the mirror, I think of Jayant. When I dress, I think of Jayant. When I undress, I think of him. Always what he wants, what he would like, what would please him. And I can't blame him. It's not he who has pressurized me into this. It's the way I want it to be. And the day I had thought, isn't there anything I want at all? Have I become fluid with no shape, no form of my own? Am I on my way to becoming an ideal woman? A woman who sheds her eye, who loses her identity in her husband's. Admits that it's not the problem of her husband Jayant. Unknowingly, she behaves so. She wants to protect the lives of her husband Jayant. So she says she becomes a typical Indian woman, living her as per the expectations of her husband. You can refer the page number 49. She realizes that her love for her husband is quite disturbing and her complete surrender to him is painful and frightening. She feels disgusted and frustrated by her silence and passivity. She even thinks of leaving her husband, hoping to be free and whole self again. But she has no courage to do so. She feels guilty to have cheated Jayant by entering into a physical relationship with Naren twice. She questions herself. What then had I achieved by giving him my body, apart from wronging Jayant? But had I not wronged Jayant even before this, by pretending, by giving him spurious coin instead of the genuine kind, I had cheated him of my true self. When she returned back to her ancestral home, we already identified, she started an illicit relationship with Naren, her cousin. Even that time also, she felt unhappy, she felt disturbed, and she felt that she is cheating her husband. At the same time, she wanted to find out the justice. She decides to move on with her marital life, even though she knows that her marriage is a failure. She surrenders to Jayant in order to prove her family that hers is a happy and successful marriage. She has dreamed of a happy married life, but unfortunately, her calculations go wrong and her dreams remains unfulfilled. She is not satisfied with her husband. Her husband takes her for granted and wanted her to submit in one way or the other. He hesitates, rather fails to realize that his wife also is an individual with her own flesh and blood, wishes and desires, dreams and aspirations, feelings and emotions. He takes her silence, patience, charity, fidelity, propriety, everything for granted. She innocently measures her marital life in terms of so called freedom and happiness that she receives and comes to the conclusion that her marital life is far away from freedom and happiness. For her, marriage is only a trap in which she is caught by her husband to satisfy his sexual hunger. She calls it a cage with two trapped animals glaring hatred at each other. Though unhappy in her marital life, she feels that to live without her husband is the greatest in her life. She admits that she can never be completed all by herself. She therefore decides to sell her ancestral house and return to her husband to live her life afresh on her own terms. This is the end of the novel. Today I already gave an outline of the novel Roots and Shadows in two ways. We discussed the brief summary of the novel in two ways. After that, I talked about the marital life of Indu and how the novel entered. I hope all of you understood the novel. We will continue Roots and Shadows in the next class. Thank you.